this week. Been doing this week.
I am not.
Okay, we're going to get started soon. Hi, my name is John French. Welcome to IC Squared. Thanks for coming. Pizza's here. Ben's and ladies' rooms around the corner. Emergency exit is out that door if we have a fire. So tonight we're going to do some scripting. A couple announcements real quick. We'll just cover things about the chapter and what we've done, things over the summer. And if you have any questions, feel free to stop and interrupt. So the agenda for tonight, we'll just talk a little bit about the high school event. We have a holiday party coming up. There was a lot of discussion at one of the meetings, IC Squared meetings, about certification. So NIST has just come out with information about cybersecurity training and skill sets. So it's kind of fascinating. We'll take a look. They actually have some data we can look at real quick. Because there's a lot of questions about what cert should I take and things like that. So we'll look at the data, see what the data says. Thanks to Josh for coming in. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. So we'll get started. So this summer we did a high school cybersecurity event. Well, we helped assist with that. And Jonathan, where are you? Right. Oh, come on, talk about it.
Yeah, so our high school event, you'll notice that the picture was literally here. We used this room and the room over there. We had 75 students. It's a partnership between IC Squared and CERT. It works out because we can get funding through sponsors through IC Squared, and CERT kind of provides the bodies and the content and stuff like that. So this year we had tons of volunteers. We had a lot of interns and stuff working for us over the summer, and we used them and abused them. And it turned out to be a good event. These high school students, each year we do this, impress me more and more each time. Like, they do the same kind of exercises that one of our director uses for grad students here at CMU. And they do like just as well as grad students here at CMU. So yeah, it's a good event. They seem to be engaged. I kind of always gauge how excited the students are about the stuff by how long it takes before they start surfing the internet or playing video games, because we give them, unrestricted access to the internet. And so, like I said, each year, that time goes a little bit further each time. Now it's, maybe after 2.5 hours, they'll start playing video games on websites I've never even seen before. So yeah, I think it turned out really
great. Thanks. Yep. Chris Fallis came and talked. I don't know if you know Chris, G-Packing. They enjoyed him talking. Obviously, thank the sponsors for the high school event. Uber, Drago, Security Risk Advisors, Trusted Cisco, and obviously CERT was the host. So big thanks for them, because without them, it really wouldn't have went. So real quick, one thing I found on the new NIST 800-181 workforce framework. So they went through and categorized security skills for various jobs. The link is there. They also have a career path webpage, so you can look at, if you're a junior security analyst, where do people go next in the field and the different skill sets they have. So we had a lot of discussion about certifications, and people ask, well, what certifications should I take? This is what the data says. I thought it was kind of fascinating. So the orange is certification holders, openings requesting certification, so you can see which ones are in demand. I don't know where they got the data from. And I know that NIST is the acronym of the government organization is putting together the framework for training through NIST. So it's possible they did actual surveys. So I looked around on the webpage, didn't find it, but I thought it's kind of interesting. CompTIA, people say, should I get the Security Plus? And then we had a lot of conversations before about the CISSP and the GIAC. So take a look if you get a chance. Fascinating to see that kind of thing. Any questions?
Yeah, where did you get that?
The pictures from the
Picture from the doctor.
cyberseek.org.
Cyber what?
Cyberseek, SEEK.org.
Looks like the people that sell the pump, TIA security.
The TIA people were sponsors, but if you look at it, there's way too many people that are certified in Security Plus compared to demand. I just thought that was an interesting side fact. So, we had talked about CERT before. I had Security Plus, and I didn't get much mileage out of it, quite frankly, personally. But everybody's different. Depends where you're at, I guess. Any questions or comments? Okay. So, on to the good stuff. Thanks for putting this together. We really appreciate it. Come on up. Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joshua Acklin. Quick thing is I can mumble sometimes or get too fast or too excited, so if you need me to slow down or speak more clearly or loudly, let me know. A little introduction about me is I am a cybersecurity engineer here at CMU, Cyber Workforce Development. I create a lot of technologies that emulate real-world systems, and at the end, they're like, oh, this is really cool. We want you to automate it and set the scripts up and be able to have this on demand, repeatable, and usable. I have a master's in software engineering from Auburn University, War Eagle. I am also a CPT member and or an operator now in the Air Force, and I was a CPT member in the Army for about 10 years. Next slide. So I'm going to go ahead and get in the meat and potatoes of here. So what is scripting? This course is going to be about scripting and what it is and how it could be used in order to make us more efficient, better, more, I guess, productive individuals. So scripting characteristics, programs written in real-time environments or shells and are automating and executing tasks. So these are just simple scripts or simple files that, repeatedly and efficiently do tasks or get information, gather information from our systems. They are interpreted and traditionally not compiled, so this is real time. The structure of a script is something like how you would do or implement a command on the command line shell. And traditionally executed line by line, so it's not like traditional object-oriented programming where you're defining classes or functions. It's line by line. I'm executing command, I'm getting that return, and I'm either doing something with it or I'm just going on to the next one. And these are made to be easy to use, easy to learn, and easy to read. So this is something that is fun and easy to do. Okay, what are the goals? The goal is to automate. I want to be able to complete these tasks without having to run each command by hand. If your script takes longer to run than it is for you to put it in there by hand, then you don't need to be scripting. You don't need to be doing that. It complete many operations easily and quickly. So I can put about 15 to 20 commands and run this script, and it'll run the same way each time, and it'll run much quicker than I can type. And it displays information in a desired format. I want to know what my system's doing or certain information. I want to format that information so I can read it or other people can read it. And I want it to be able to give me real-time information or real results in a way I can make decisions. And it's supposed to be easy and fun. So, you can do a lot of really cool stuff. You can get a lot of really robust information from these scripts that you're designing. You can make quick animation. You can do whatever you would like. Why learn scripting? Because of automation. Automation's a big thing right now. Everything's being automated. Everything's being easily repeatable. We wanted to bring down the numbers of people that we're using on a team, and we want to be able to be more efficient with less resources. So it kind of seems counterproductive, but this is something we have to emphasize on. And we're being asked to do more things. We're being asked to perform more tasks with limited time of day, so having more training, being able to automate our job or our certain tasks in our job will free up the menial work that we have to do in order to have us be able to do the more interesting work, the more impactful work. And systems are becoming more and more complex. So that menial stuff, like I just said, if we can make that, if I can complete those tasks really rapidly or efficiently, then I can start focusing on the more complex, more difficult things. We're taking our 3 or 4 person team and putting them into one person so they can complete these tasks and be done with them. And then finally, being able to schedule and execute scripts per your schedule. So, like you're doing a Nessus scan or you're doing a scan of your network and you don't want to do it during peak business hours or peak times, so you can schedule a cron job to do it at midnight and get that information in the morning, or you can periodically check your systems, your host intrusion detection systems, and see where you're at, where your system's at, how vulnerable are you, or certain tasks. So you can schedule these, it's quick and easy. And then multitasking and time saving. So I can rapidly execute a wide array of commands or tasks with a single press of a button. That's the biggest thing. Is I want to be able to do the most I can possibly do to execute as many tasks as I can in the shortest amount of time. And you can do multiple scripts asynchronously. So if I need to run a scan as well as read information from another system, then I can create scripts or applications that will do that for me. And then I can monitor multiple systems. I can display information either in one command line interface or many command line interfaces, or I can create GUIs for it. It's whatever you want it to be. And you can create, it can execute commands through a decision tree. So it says, if my system is not up, then I want to be able to kick it on, and then I want to check it again. Is it not up? Kick it on, check it again. So it can make decisions on what you want to do. And okay, so I know I've been talking awfully quickly. So the scripting language types. So there's 5 main types, really. There's probably a lot more, but this was able to identify. You have your glue languages. These are your conduits between your system and certain applications. An example of this would be Python in general. So it can interact with an application such as your Apache web server or web hosting server, and it can translate that information from that and send it to your system or vice versa. And most scripting languages fall within this characteristic. These 5 types aren't, scripting languages just don't end up in one of these realms. They can exhibit multiple characteristics of all these. So it can be a subset or it can be all-encompassing. Sorry, and back to glue languages. And they can perform a wide array of system functions. Next, we have shell scripting, which is what most of us are used to. This is your bash shell, your PowerShell, your CMD, your PowerCLI if you use VMware. This is an interface to your system, to your system that you can interact with in order to interact with certain systems within certain subsystems within your computer as a whole. Next, you have your GUI scripting. This is for your testing or automating clicks on a screen. So if you're an app developer and you want to create a script that constantly presses a button to see when it breaks, this would be something we've developed for that. And you have application-specific scripting, which is designed by developers to interact with that software alone or the application alone. Example of this would be PowerCLI for VMware. It's specifically made to interact with VMware tools or VMware environment, and the application developer did it that way. And all these mirror a command line interface. So they're supposed to be an interface which an operator would end up utilizing in order to get information back, perform tasks, or interact with the system. And finally, extensions and embeddables. Okay, I said it right. Embeddables. Anyways, so these are things like hooks. So there's certain, we had a chat server. We wanted to be able to identify whenever this chat server got a message and being able to respond to that message. So we put in a hook So this is a non-application specific interaction with an application. So it's saying, I'm going to do, it's like an API call, a web API call. So I'll do a post, when's the last call, or when's the last message that was sent. It would hook into that, that application and pull out the information we would like. And then finally, creates translations between multiple languages, for example, JavaScript or ECMA scripts, or it's just a way to interpret information from multiple different languages. Okay. I'm going to go over a couple examples of some some scripting language. I guess the biggest one that I'm used to, and I don't know how many of you are as well, Bash scripting. This is a Unix shell written in C. It's a pure scripting language. It's a functional language, meaning I perform a function and I get either stuff back or something happens within the system. It's not compiled but interpreted, so you don't need a compiler from it, you just need an interpreter to perform the task that you desire. The results are returned as a string, and you can manipulate those results any way you see fit by either piping, displaying, or assigning it to variables or just ignoring them. Next is batch scripting. This is Windows batch scripting. So this is a CMD interface, so anything that can be run on CMD or command line on Windows can be executed here. It's the same thing as bash pretty much. Files are in plain text, it's not compiled, it's not executable. It executes any commands that can be sent to your CLI. It performs logical operations such as if, else statements, for loops, all that kind of stuff. It's not compiled but interpreted, and the results are the same thing. It's a string that returns that you can manipulate either by piping, assigning, displaying, or ignoring. PowerShell. Now PowerShell is incredibly powerful because PowerShell is different because it turns everything into an object. Objects can be acted upon, objects can have attributes and functions associated with those objects. But it allows you to manipulate and display information in a much easier, much less complicated way. It's much more powerful. Microsoft created PowerShell, it's a command line shell, which I found out today, which is kind of cool, that it can be used on multiple platforms such as CentOS or Ubuntu. I thought that was purely a Windows thing, but learn something new every day. It can execute a mixture between commandlets, which commandlets are PowerShell specific applications, not really applications, but what you said is feature sets. Feature sets, there we go. Scripts that you make yourself, and executables. This is a pure object-oriented programming language, not really scripting language, in which everything is an object that can be, like I said, acted upon, manipulated, or have functions called. This supports piping and object creation, so you can create your own objects that can be acted upon and manipulated. And it's a modern scripting language, so it's 2016 is 5.0, I believe. My absolute favorite, and it should be everyone's favorite, it's so dang easy. Python. People like to say this is a scripting language, and I say no, it's not. It's an object-oriented, functional, multifaceted, awesome language, I guess. It's a high-level programming language, meaning that it is in almost plain text. It's interpreted by your system, converted into binary, and executed. It's a general-purpose language, meaning that it can be utilized to fulfill functions of scripting by doing system calls. It interacts with any system, so as long as you install Python onto your system, you can make system calls in whatever format that system will read it from. The libraries that support scripting functionality, such as writing straight to system or OS, and designed to be easily used, read, and learned. So this is, people took what they learned from C, C++, and Java and said, I don't like that at all. I want to make it a little bit easier to use, a little bit more robust, and Python was born. It has a very large development community, and they have many libraries in which you can utilize and be able to grow into. and it's a very strong and powerful language. Which gives us to today's activities. Here at CMU, we created 4 labs in which to practice and learn scripting. The first one is our Pcap Analysis with Python. This is more of a beginner, so if you've never really messed with Python or you're just really new to it, this is a step-by-step how to learn or how Python's used, how to create your own Python application, and how to pretty much how Python works in general. At the end of it, you end up doing a Pcap Analysis script or application in which you can identify systems and system behavior within the Pcap. So if you guys don't have any Python experience or you're new to it, I suggest you do this one next week. After that, you have network flow analysis with Python. This is more for your intermediate, not really advanced, but if you know Python, you've done it for a couple of years, or you feel pretty strong about it, I suggest this one. This one has little to no guidance or instruction, but at the end of it, you're creating a passive network scanner to identify system capabilities and systems within a network. So next one. If you are a Python expert and you're like, I've never touched PowerShell before and I want to try something new, I suggest going to PowerShell. It's the same format. The Windows file system scanning with PowerShell is a how to utilize commandlets, executables, and functions within PowerShell. And at the end of it, you'll do a baselining of the Windows file system in which you create a baseline that you can compare against to identify if your system's been manipulated. And then finally, you have a HIDS, our host intrusion detection system with PowerShell. This is for your intermediate. I've done PowerShell for a while. I've been pretty comfortable with it. I'm going to go ahead and do this one. Once again, a little instruction, not instruction, but it doesn't teach a whole lot. It's expecting you to kind of know what you're doing, but it'll point you in direction. And you'll go ahead and create a host intrusion detection system that creates a baseline of your file system, your running processes, your network connections, as well as your Windows registry. And then you'll be able to compare that baseline against your system changes and identify changes within your system. So once again, the 4 labs are if I'm a rock star on PowerShell, I've never messed with Python, then do Python. If you're a rock star with Python, you've never done PowerShell, do vice versa, or if you're just more intrigued about one or the other one, by all means. Now, does anyone have any questions about scripting or a direction they would like to go into, or have anything to add to what I was talking about? I know I went awfully quick. If anybody has any questions, I'll be sitting over here, and by all means, good luck, and thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate this.
So when we take that break, the bathroom / eating pizza break, we're meeting up with Dan as well. I'm going to have anybody that doesn't have an account on this CyberLeap forward, if you've never heard of it, I'll have you come up and type in your email address from the main page. On the main page, we'll search for this fundamental basis of scripting course, and then here's the first of the 4, and then the other 3 are below that. But kind of piggyback off of what Josh was saying, if you are new to us, we develop training for the government, specifically the military, specifically for this purpose was the Air Force. But we don't do slides and stand up. In fact, I just made him make these slides before we came in here, just to give you a little bit of an overview. But for the most part, the expectation when we go to the Air Force is that they are familiar with scripting at some level. And there's a couple versions of our learning management system. Some are like DoD only, and some are classified and stuff like that. But this one, Cyber Leap Forward, is very much our public outreach. We use this for the high school event. John uses it for his classes. People all around campus use it for other types of classes. And you'll have access to this. So there's, all kind of different material. Lots of different labs like this on other topics besides scripting. There's a hands-on labs category in the courses that give you access to all of those labs. There's, you want to learn about Cisco CCENT or CEH version 8, or version 8, you could take a course on that. So again, we do this a little bit, or we at least used to in terms of the lecture piece, but for the most part, our main primary mission goal is to create hands-on labs and huge, large-scale exercises that are like this lab environment times hundreds of systems, but that's a whole another discussion. So once you're in here, this is the home page, and you'll feel. It's always great when you come to these, because you always fix stuff. You'll just type in scripting, and I'm already in progress on this one, but for you, it'll show up on this Available tab under Courses, Available, and right here would be a link for you that says Enroll, so you can actually enroll in the course, and then it moves over to this course is in progress, and then if you jump into the progress, we'll just take a look at that interface for a moment here. We don't do these hands-on things every month that we have meetings, but every couple we like to switch things up between different speakers and the hands-on stuff. So just fly with the defaults there, and then hit connect.
I'll show what the directions are to.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. So you can actually download the directions to kind of have off to the side from here. And this is the lab guide, we call it. But it will also show up on your scenario tab as well. And in that lab guide, I'm assuming that the first step is go to your map. Yeah, so navigate to your map, go to workstation. So if we go to the map, there's our workstation, and it will bring you in, and you'll follow the directions from there. Once it eval tab. This is the quiz that I was talking about. And then on the dashboard, inside of the step-by-step guide, it will say, go to the dashboard and trigger one of these buttons for that grading to happen. The score in your upper right-hand corner there will go up if you pass that section, or it will tell you that you didn't do it correctly. This big purple box shows up if you did not do it correctly. But you can run that multiple times, like you're not dead in the water if you failed the first time or whatever. Okay, so one tip is if you, this is a Linux box, like if you need to jump out of here, if you do Control-Alt, it will bring you out so you can actually click on stuff. we call it releasing the cursor. You can make it full screen. You can right click and open a new window. Did I miss anything?
Google Chrome works best if you have that.
Google Chrome works best.
Does this have the PowerShell running on the Linux box?
No. PowerShell is, if you launch the 2 PowerShell labs, it will take you to Windows boxes. There's more boxes out there than just this one that you see on the map, but we don't give you access to those ones. Like, they're the ones creating traffic and stuff.
That one is just that one.
Okay.
The other one has everything.
Okay. So depending on the lab that you select, it may or may not have more stuff on the map.
I can save. I can do it once.
All right. So before we wrap up, Josh is gonna just run you through the second of the 4 labs. Again, if you want to pay attention, feel free to. If you want to keep on working on what you're doing, feel free to.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the packet sniffer application on the second lab. This one is going to be using a library called PyShark. It's that glue script. It connects Wireshark and the Python shell and gives us information from Pcap or live feeds. So when we go through our lab here, we can see when we create an IP object, this object is going to consist of two variables. One is the IP address. One is the IP address, which is just a string IP, and the other one is a dictionary that is going to be the services that is within this IP address. So we're going to create the variables, and then next we're going to go ahead and add a new service. So the services is going to be a list that's going to be added to the dictionary, and the key to the dictionary is going to be the protocol. So this is going to be a TCP and UDP protocol. But if you want to expand on this script, you can do whatever you like. So we're going to do an if the protocol is defined in self.service. So we have to reference ourselves. Then we're going to add it. Now, a lot of people say with Python, the spacing can be 1, 2, or 4. It just has to be consistent or tabs. But industry is standard, and I will argue this to the death, is you always use 4 spaces. No matter what, always 4 spaces. Even when I program in other languages, it's always 4 spaces. We create an array, but if it is defined within self.service,
Can you real quick explain the significance of the spaces versus the tabs? We were actually just having this conversation.
So traditionally you have brackets. In most languages you'll have brackets for your code block. In Python, it uses spacing or tabs. So this is your code block. When you step into your function or your block of code, you use spacing for that. It'd either be 1, 2, or 4 spaces or a single tab. You have to be consistent. You can't have a mixture between tabs and spaces, or 1 space here, 4 spaces there. You have to maintain consistency. Does that help?
Is there a significance between using 4 spaces versus not, like you said, industry standard is 4 spaces?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't it be just 1 tab?
Tabs are interpreted under different OSs. So a tab in Linux is interpreted different than a tab in Windows. So if I'm trying to bring a script over to, say I have this issue a lot, so I'll be on my host machine doing it in my Mac. And then I'll bring it into a CentOS machine and all my space is jacked, and so I have to redo a half of it.
Gotcha. Thank you.
we're going to say if it is not in there. So if it is not within, so if it's not defined, then we have to define it. And by default, Python returns none. So saying return none is redundant. It's just when you're defining your headers and you're defining your definitions, if you don't have anything there, it's going to give you an indent here. So this is our IP object. We're going to go ahead and check to validate that we are good. While we're waiting for that to kick in, there we go. Oh, we're good. Okay, so next we're going to do our 4 helper functions. A helper function is something, it's purely functional. So it is given information and it returns information. It doesn't add to an object. It isn't part of the object or a class. It's just purely, making decisions and giving you results. So we're going to read the IP, and we're going to define all the IPs that aren't defined within our global variable, which is called packet IP, I believe. Yeah, packet IP, which is a global dictionary, and that's just a collection of everything we've run so far. So I know in the docs it tells you to define global variable packet IP. Python, when it works with variables, sometimes you have to define whether it's a global variable or local variable. With dictionaries and arrays and what's that called? With dictionaries and arrays, you don't have to. It's already understood unless you create it locally. But with integers, strings, or something like that, you have to define it within the local instance in there. So we're going to go ahead and do if ip.source, because IP is a packet object which has a source IP and a destination IP. So if ip.source, not in IP. And if IP.dest, and then packet IP. Bear with me for a second. And we're going to append it to our list. And this list is just a list of undefined IPs within packet IP. We're going to return that. So you can see that the function header of the documentation gives you your function name, description of what that function does, or function it performs, your input and your output. So we're going to be returning a string, a list of unique strings, which is going to be IP. And the same thing for read protocol, except here we have to check 2 different things. Check one. not in. So if that's not defined, then we have to define it as well as. Now this is asking for a tuple of the information. The difference between a list and a tuple is you can reassign indexes in a list, you cannot in a tuple. So it's a one-time pad for a tuple. And so per our instructions, we only care about source IPs to source ports and destination IP to destination ports. So because this was, we were only worried about the source, now we have to switch it to the destination. So this is going to be acting on the results of the reach function. So the add IP is going to be a list of unique IP addresses that are not defined within our package IP, our global IP. So it'll be for I and IP because the list of strings. This is a tuple where the first index, or 0, is the IP address, and then we're doing a new service, which takes in 2 arguments, which is the protocol name, which is the second argument, or second tuple index, and the service port, which is in the third. And the rate is an integer, so make sure we have to pass that as an integer. RGs, or arguments, command line arguments are taken in. The first one is the actual command itself, this library calling. While the second, and everything after that is just an array of arguments that you can manipulate. Okay, and then simply here we just have to call through the commands and run through them. So we have to say, is it an IV packet? And is it a TCP or IP layer object as well? I'm going to do to save lines, I'm going to do a quick little logical operator. So you can do an inline assign or an inline system call with an if statement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, switching 3 IP. Add IP. If IP, which if IP is an empty array, that means there's no new IP addresses identified. So it'll return false if it's empty. But if it's true, it'll run that command, else none. And so with that simple call, you can run a command if it's true, so you don't have to use multiple lines, go to multiple calls. Next, I'm going to create do the same thing with the protocols. So there's the results for our chapter. This is using a library called Curses. It's a way to get real-time updates in place on your terminal. So it's actually a very good library to have if you're wanting to watch live information. Against the network flow, we're able to identify systems within a network. So we'll have no, just a tap on the network line, and we're just listening and processing network information. So here we can identify system flags as 53, that means it has DNS. 443 and 80 means it's a web server. These different ports are just arbitrary port numbers, so maybe they might be user systems. So this is just something to think about when you're identifying the systems. And here in a second, it's going to go crazy. Hey, tell me what that is. What's going on?
Stuff your machine.
So it just shot up, and you see how it's connecting to all these ports. So that's an Nmap scan.
Oh.
That's what an Nmap scan looks like on a live feed. They're just trying to connect to anything.
What are you scanning for yourself?
We're not scanning anything. We're just monitoring a network. So we just monitor somebody scanning something.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But if you're in a switch network, how are you seeing other people doing stuff?
Well, you're a probe on a foreign network.
Okay.
So you're doing a passive network scan.
Oh, okay.
So as far as the display, like in here where you've got 210.20, 210.20, is that, they're just two columns of activity?
Addresses or IP
That's
addresses.
what I was thinking of.
There's no like real correlation between
A source and a destination, and it was the same. Okay.
Okay, so that's it. It's IP passive network flow analysis with Python. If you guys have any questions, get with Robert, Jonathan, and he'll let me know.
Did everybody enjoy this? You guys like the hands-on?
Yes, very much so.
Thanks for coming.